may fail to bounce back. Okay. Now, the person who has been able to bounce back has a stable mental health. So when we talk about mental health, we are generally talking about the health of the mind. It is not Butabika. Now, the Butabika case is when the mental health is unstable. Then that is when we say, then that is when we talk about mental health challenges. That basically, that is it. Remember, I'm using the basic explanation. When you cannot be able to bounce back, when you cannot help yourself after going through a problem, like I've explained, and so many other problems, then we can say that you have a mental health challenge. It can also escalate to a mental health condition that may need you to go for an assessment or to go for an examination in any health facility that offers mental illness services. Am I clear? Today, we are talking about the hidden wounds. The what? The hidden wounds. What is a wound? What is a wound? What is a wound? Who can help me answer that question? Is there someone who is willing to help me? Or you want me to give all the answers? I will not, because I know people both well, are very bright, they're very wise, and knowledgeable. And so, what is a wound? Mrs. Sekaja wants to give us an answer, I guess. Oh, she's not the one. Sorry, forgive my sins. So the chorister, right? Please help me share your name if it's okay with you. Patricia. Pat, could you please help us define what a wound is? Ekibuzo kiganye, I got.
Maybe it's
why is
flesh
this
that has been hurt or tortured? Maybe open flesh.
Open.
I don't know how to define it. It might not be flesh. Okay, something that has been tortured and it has moved from its natural state to something else.
Okay. Thank you, Pat. That is a definition. Thank you. Is there anyone who has a similar or a different answer? People don't want to give me answers. Are they scared? No, I don't think so. Who has ever gotten a wound on his or her body? What was it like, Mrs. Guminkiriza? Scary. Okay. Now, imagine the wound, that wound that you got, the physical wound that you got on your body. I do not know which part of the body got the wound, but I guess you are now reflecting, right? The wounds that we are talking about today, they are the wounds that we find or that get stuck in our many wounds are hidden in the heart, carried silently through rejection, through betrayal, through abandonment, abuse, loss, and disappointment. As I am speaking, I want to imagine that one of us, if not one among the 5 people seated here, or 3, has ever received or experienced rejection. If not, betrayal. If not, abandonment, abuse, loss, or a what? A disappointment. Now, these wounds that I'm talking about are hidden under the skin. Sorry, they don't show up on the face, okay? They are hidden in the mind, but they shape how we love, how we trust, and to my fellow Adventist, how we worship our God. I happened, after campus, I remember, I happened to go to West Nile. And so there was a congregational singing. That is what it's called. You will forgive me because I'm used to Luganda. In Chireka, we do worship in Luganda. So if you hear me messing up, do not worry. Just cheer me up, okay? So I happened to go to West Nile. And as we were doing the congregational singing, I realized everyone was in a somber mood. I mean, Pat, do me a hymn. He's in the world today.
I know that he is living,
Whatever men may say. Okay, thank you. So that was the mood. That was the what? Remember, I have said that the wounds that we carry shape how we love, how we worship. As I am speaking, I want you to reflect, okay? I want you people to be doing what? Reflecting. Now, Helen G. White, in her book, In Mind, Character and Personality, Volume 2, page 396 to 397, she highlights that the mind and the body are inseparable. Linked negative emotions like grief, anxiety, and guilt weaken life forces, contributing to illness and even premature death or decline. Now, as I speak that, what have you buried that still bleeds in privacy? What is that like that has wounded you? Probably you could be still moving. Probably you could be still able to put on a smile, and everyone who looks at you is like, wow, Mrs. Gumikliza has a very bright, is it a bright smile? A very nice smile. When Patty was co-starring here, I was like, wow, this is an angel from heaven. So now, what is that buried wound that you are nursing privately? Whose face still brings you pain when you remember it? Is it your father's face? Could it be your mother's face? Could it be your sister's face? What has this wound cost your job? That wound that you're harboring, what could it have cost you or costed you? Is it your joy, your trust, or your worship? The narrative of a broken heart or a wounded heart is a reality, not only for humans who are living now, but also to the humans who lived in the Old Testament, as well as those who lived in the New Testament. Now, go with me to the Old Testament. In the scriptures, we see a son of God called Joseph. Do we remember what happened to Joseph? Do we know what happened to Hannah? Do we also remember what could have happened to David? What about Peter? What about Naomi? Joseph was sold as a slavery. Who sold Joseph? I want you to say it louder. Who sold Joseph to his brother? What had he done? If you were Joseph, what could you have done to your brothers who? Sorry? To beat them. Thank you. I love that. I love that. She has spoken out her emotions, her heart. Why would you beat them? What would make you to beat them? So you would revenge over what they did to you. That is what? Revenge. Now listen. Joseph was sold as a slave by his own brothers. At 17 years, he was a very young boy. These brothers would have protected Joseph. Sindio. Falsely accused in Egypt and forgotten in prison for years, while his integrity cost him everything. You remember that? Now, betrayal came from the closest hands. Have you ever been betrayed by your family members? Have you? Have you ever been betrayed by a renowned friend? This is what happened to who? To Joseph. Now, yet Joseph never let bitterness write his story. Never. He did not. What did he do? When he finally stood before the brothers, he told who sold him. This is what he told them. He had the power to destroy them, like she said. He had the power to beat them up, even to take them to the prisons. But do you know what he did? He said, I have forgiven my brothers. Even when you betrayed me, my God was there to save me. I do not know who has ever betrayed you. I want you to scan through your CPU. Scan through, reflect, ask yourself, what have you done to this person before? Or what are you planning to do to this person who has betrayed you? Who betrayed you last night? What are you planning to do to him? Joseph did not allow the bitterness to drive him on what to do. He did not allow it. He remained calm. He upheld his integrity. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good and bring it about that many people should be kept alive. My brother, my sister, you could be undergoing a betrayal, which is coming from a very known person, your family member, your closest workmate. And God is planning something very beautiful out of this betrayal. Betrayal affects the way we love. It affects the way we laugh. It affects the way we worship. Betrayal from a family member or a friend doesn't disqualify God's plan for you. It can become the very path he uses to uplift you. Let us talk about Hannah. Hannah was humiliated and rejected. How many people have ever been humiliated at their workplaces? All by a customer. All by a supplier. Have you ever been humiliated? How does it affect your feelings? How has it ever affected your feelings? Okay, who is willing to share with us? Sharing amongst Adventists is haram. Haram? Haram? No, it is not. Someone is willing to share with us? Okay. One time I happened to get a supplier. She's a supplier. She sells some commodities that I buy from her for my children. So one time I go to her, and she gives me a pair of shoes. Now, when she gave me the pair of shoes, I reached home. My boy was not at home, so the boy didn't try on the shoes. By the time they were about to go to school, I realized, oh no, they came back. And so she tried on the shoes. The shoes were same leg. So I go back to the lady. I tell her, Madam, this is what and what happened. Well, then she says, but you have delayed. All the stock was taken. Why have you come back this late? Rebecca has a title she always gives me, that I'm soft spoken. So in my soft spokenness, I stayed at a shop for some good time, like 3 hours, hoping that this lady is going to help me and give me, because I had bought cannoli. So she had a lot in stock of crab. My dears, this lady looked at me. She kept on telling me, Madam, I cannot give you crab for cannoli. You have to wait. I don't know. I called a certain person who bought also from me, and he said he will bring the shoe after 1 week, after 2 weeks. In my soft spokenness, I was like, now what should I do? I felt humiliated. I felt bad. I started feeling like my emotions were raising. I couldn't beat her up. I was like, what should I do to this lady to show her that I am really serious? I want this shoe. So I kept on waiting. They share a shop with another gentleman. So I told him, but why isn't she allowing to give me the crab shoe? Afterwards, I excused myself. I remembered that there was a God. I remember that there was something for me to hold, not to put to shame, and that was God. I moved away. I went to my outspoken friend. I shared with her the story. But what I want to let you know, by the time I went to that outspoken friend, my cup was full of anger. I was so annoyed. But I couldn't beat that woman up. I couldn't beat her. So I kept there. I narrated to her the story, and she told me, do you know what? Let us go back. To cut the story short, I was humiliated by the supplier. Hannah was humiliated. Hannah was done what? And by the time I was going back at home, I sat in that taxi. I couldn't feel myself. I was angry. I was aggressive. Anyone who could sit next to me badly, I would frown my face. You see how I was affected emotionally. My behaviors were also affected. My thoughts were also what? Affected. Hannah was humiliated. This was a barren lady. Barren year after year. While her rival Penina had children every year. Let me assume every year she would give birth to a bouncing baby. What do you think Penina was feeling? I mean, Hannah was feeling. What was she feeling? What was she thinking? Because everything that happened to us affects how we think. When how we think is affected, how we feel is also affected negatively. If what has happened is negative. Now, there cannot be a wound where there is a positive thought. It is a negative thought that triggers a negative feeling. Instead of retaliating, Hannah poured her grief before God in raw, honest prayer, and God turned her humiliation into Samuel, a prophet for a nation. Regardless of who has humiliated you, your God is still watching over you. No matter how much you have been rejected by the Peninners, God is still welcoming you because he loves you. Let us talk about David. David was rejected by who? Who rejected David? Saul rejected him. But you know how Joseph was chosen. Samuel went, was it Samuel? When, after God sending him to go to Jesse's home to to get for the Israelites a king. When Samuel reached there, he saw very tall giant guys, and he was like, wow, God has given us the best king. And then God was like, no, Samuel, that is not the king. Ask Jesse to go and call that young boy. He was a young boy. When he came, Samuel was surprised to see the one who was chosen by God to be the king. I want to imagine that there could be a certain responsibility that you've been given, and the people around you are all murmuring. Let us wait and see how that boy will perform. Let us wait and see how that person they have given the headship of the eldership will work. Will he even manage? Yeah. Aha. I want to remind you that David was rejected, but God was with him. Now, when we look at how David was rejected, we stop at that. Have you ever taken a moment to analyze how that rejection made him feel? Have you? That is not written. Oh, but David poured his heart to God. He always poured his heart to God. When you go in the book of Psalms, David, the man of God, David's Psalms show a man who brought his rejection straight to God rather than to revenge, and became a man after God's own heart. Rejection hurts. Rejection affects the way we feel. It affects our thoughts. There is a boy, I work on a helpline. There's a boy who said, I was rejected by my father. And this threw me to using substances, because that is where I would find comfort. That is where I would find what? Comfort. That is how rejection can affect us. Was here a Seventh Adventist? I will come back and tell you that story later. What do I want to mean? That when we are rejected, we have we can learn to move with this rejection. We can learn to stay with this rejection. But deep inside us, it leaves holes, it leaves wounds, unseen wounds. And then every congregant would say, nawe, only that happened to you, only a rejection. You're only not, you're just naughty. You're just a naughty boy. This world is cruel. So what? Do you know how much I've been affected by the rejection? Being rejected by a parent, being rejected by a husband, being rejected by a wife. Do you know how much it affects the individual's mental health? Do you know how much it destabilizes it? Now, in 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 1 to 2, and Psalms 41, verses 9, that is where we find the stories that I've been talking about. Where has your rejection or humiliation led you to hide? Where are you hiding? Where are you hiding, my friend? Where are you hiding? Rather than hiding, rather than running away from church, rather than gossiping about the person who has rejected you or humiliated you, rather than working or planning how you will revenge better, I want to tell you that you can even revenge poorly. Yet if you poured your heart to God, He can do a better revenge for you. Revenge is for God. Just go like David did. Pour your heart to God. Tell Him, God, like Rebecca said, I feel I want to box Elder. He has done ABCD. He has made me feel rejected so often. I feel like I want to box him. But God, hold my hands. Stop hiding this from God. Because the more you do it, the more this piles, the more it affects your mental health. Because it affects your thoughts. It affects your feelings. When it affects your thoughts, you will plan bad. When it affects your feelings, you will plan to do bad. You will plan to revenge, either by being aggressive on him or his family, or even planning how you can kill him better. You know who planned to kill in the Bible? Okay. The time manager should remind me, because when I start speaking, So, let's talk about failure and loss. There is a gentleman who failed in the Bible. Have you ever failed? How did you feel? What came to your thoughts when you failed? You may not give me an answer, but I want you to reflect. You can write down if possible, because writing is healing. Did you know that? Writing is healing. It heals. So what is that you've ever failed, and how did you feel? What came in your mind? Did you feel that failure is part of you? Because to some people, when they fail, they think, their brain make them to think that that is the end of them. What is that you failed on? Peter failed. Remember when he told Jesus, for me, Jesus, wherever you go, I will go. I cannot even say that I do not know you. You are my God. How many times have you told that to God? There are very many times. I don't know whether you could be like Peter also. But Peter failed. He failed to keep the promise. He denied Jesus. Have you ever failed? People fail, and they even fail to wake up from their beds. Because whenever they remember about that failure, they see a monster coming for them. They see monsters laughing at them, and they fear to go out. They fear to come to church. They fear to go and work. I mean, what is that you failed on? Boasted he would never deny Christ, then denied him 3 times. How many? In a single night. Can you imagine? Hey, you're joking. The last time, with cursing, he went out and wept bitterly. Sure, his unusefulness was finished. But Jesus met him on the beach. The resurrection restored him 3 times over and over again. And Jesus gave him the church. Do you remember what he told him? When you get saved, you do what? You do what? God has sent me today to remind you that however much you have failed, he is willing to entrust you with his bank. He is willing to entrust you with his church, with that family, however much you have failed, regardless of what pain you have caused to them, to your family members, to your sisters, to your brothers, to your workmates. He is willing to restore your success. To restore your what? Your success. Should I tell you more about Naomi? You know what happened to him. I mean to her. And you know how God was not yet finished with her. When for her she thought God was done with her. But that pain she went through of losing a husband, but also losing children. Do you see a devastated woman? That is how devastated we also get when we have lost our beloved ones. I do not know the beloved one you have ever lost and you've not yet healed over him or her. I may not know how deep this wound pains, But I want to guess that it could be hitting hard. But regardless of that, our Lord Jesus Christ is not yet finished with you. He's still there working upon restoring you like he restored Naomi through Ruth and Boaz. Remember the emptiness they came with from wherever they came from, and God restored them. Has failure or loss convinced you that your story is over? Tonight, I want to remind you that God is still writing it. And he's writing it otherwise, different from what you know. Keep your eyes unto Jesus Christ. Now, the wounds affect us. What do they do? Imagine shattered thoughts, feelings, leading to shattered behaviors. All along, I used to think that people who use drugs or substances do it because of peer pressure, because of exploration, because of what else? What else have you also known? Not knowing the church doctrines. What else? Elder, I see you wanting to tell us something. Because of sickness. Which type of sickness? Now, yes. I happen to have interest in learning about parenting and how it affects adolescents. But I have come to learn that yes, these other factors could be having an extent to which they make these as adolescents or youths to use substances. But as I was preparing my presentation, I realized that the hidden wounds can trigger the use of substances, even, let me say this, even amongst Adventists. The hidden wounds. I am not told. I have heard and I have seen. Okay? Hidden wounds affect us. How? When they are left untreated, they do not go away. They don't do what? When they are left untreated, they stay. They get a seat. They become family members in your family. They get a room in your heart. They get contained. And the beauty about them, they live in a self-contained room because they have literally everything they do what? They need. When it spreads in all the entire aspects of my life. They affect the way my attitudes, my perception, my conviction, my actions. Those are behaviors, yes. The way I love, the way I interpret events, okay? They trigger bitterness. They do what? Replaying the offense until it colors every relationship. That is what the hidden wounds do. They facilitate fear. Why? Because someone will always live on a guard so that she or he doesn't experience the same thing. Let me tell you, I have spent 4 or 8 months without going back to the other supplier. Oh, there's a question I had in the beginning that I didn't ask. Who gets affected by the psychological wounds? Who? Everyone. whether you were doctor, whether you were pastor's wife, whether you were a pastor, whether you were president, you can be affected by these wounds. The pastor's wives pray. Why have I prayed for that to heal? Now I'm going to explain that. When we worked on the issue, I actually, Madam Rebecca, thank you for helping me because I'm my outspoken friend. Okay. So through her support, I got the shoes, the pair of shoes. But remember, I was angry and annoyed. I was saddened. Okay? So in my heart, I told myself, I do not want to become sad again. After going back to buy another pair of shoes, and the same thing happens, and this lady tells me to wait for that long that she made me to wait for. No, I will not go back to her place. She has nice shoes, but she has nice what? But I told myself, not now. Because I do not want to go back and face the same. There are so many people who think they have healed over their problems. Okay? Because you can be able to laugh, because you can be able to walk in the church on Sabbath and pray, read the key thought, read the lesson, discuss it very well. You may be convinced that you have healed. I have just realized that what has kept me from not going back is because I have not yet healed. What is that you are harboring fear for? Is there something that you're fearing? Is there something that you have fear for to engulf just because something has ever happened to you? Is it a relationship that the girl rejected you? The girlfriend rejected you, and you feel everyone on planet Earth who is putting on a skirt will reject you? Is it missing out on a job interview? And you feel that every organization that is giving out jobs will never give you a job? When I was at campus, this course that I did, counseling and guidance, I think it was still young amongst the courses. So one of our lecturers said, but why did the government waste this money to bring students to study counseling and guidance? Why? So we go to the university, we study the 3 years end. But along the way, some of my colleagues were engineers. One of them was doing civil engineering, another one was doing evaluation something. They told me, but where are you going to get jobs from? You think Uganda has jobs for counselors? For me, I told them, I will work. I will get a job. I'll get a what? A job. And indeed, I am so grateful to God that He has been faithful to me. He has been giving me jobs. But what that I wanted to share is that sometimes we generalize situations and events. Because I failed here, I'll never be successful at any other job interview. So you move with that in your bag. Everywhere you go, they tell you, please apply. The jobs in Uganda are for technical know-how. Please apply. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I am not trying. Why? The jobs are for known people. Me, I am not what? Can you undo that mindset, please? Because fear is chasing over you. You're harboring an hidden wound that is holding your growth, that is holding your enthusiasm. to develop as a human being. Talk about the things that you went through as you were growing up. Probably you could have not been loved by your parent, by your father, by your mother. They separated. And everything you think about her, whenever I get a wife and she leaves me like my mother left my father, and we suffered so much. Are you your father? Or are you your mother? You are you. You are Elsie, and your destiny is very different from your parents. Those unhealed wounds can accelerate. Is it accelerating? Trigger a lot of fear amongst us, and we at some times fail to achieve what we want to achieve. They stumble, they kulemesa, they hinder our development spiritually, financially. Talk about someone. I'll talk about that. What is that time, my friends? Hey, I've been talking about fear. What? Fear. Do not guard so much what you have not yet seen. I fear to get married because I saw a certain church member who was wedded last month, and they divorced. Are you them? Are you that person? I have come to remind you that you are you, and the past has nothing to do with your present and with your future. But it is true that sometimes the unhealed wounds can make us get stuck in our pain. And we work so hard not to get out of it by thinking about it. There's this that always amuses me. Someone grows up from very less privileged family, and then he grows up thinking, I must work hard so that I do not be poor like mine. Who told you that being poor was the problem of your parents? Problem may not be that they didn't have money. Probably they could have had the money but misused it because they did not know how to invest it, how to save it. They didn't have the opportunities. And now you're here dying, working day and night without any rest. You get fatigued, you get burnout, your family breaks because you want to acquire all the riches in the world. I am not saying we shouldn't work, but as we are working, let us not allow the wounds to instigate fear in us to even not take care of our mental health. Those who are working, please work, because but do not allow fear to take away the joy that you would have enjoyed with your family members, with your families, because you want to get so much, not to be poor like your parents. Okay? I'm talking about fear. I have spent a lot of time here. Why? Because when I'm on a helpline, I hear so many children disturbed, frustrated because of these things. My parents divorced, my parents separated, and so the girl is tortured, and so the boy is tortured. She's thinking maybe they separated because of her. And these unhealed wounds, there is no one she can share them with. Not the father, not the brother, not even a church member, because the church member will tell her, you leave them, they separated. Just to be there. But do you know how much this girl is hurting? She's feeling guilty. And if that is not resolved, she may also fear to get involved in any relationship. So elders, be there. Gwenga to wasa, gwenga to fumbirwa. You do not know that this girl has an unhealed wound. I'm talking about the effects of unhealed wounds. Distrust, hidden wounds affect our trust. we tend to build walls that keep us out of the danger that we've ever experienced. They also affect the way we relate with our spouses. Because whenever you feel like you're about to trust him or her, you remember how your friend behaved, and you're like, let me not trust him 100%. Ladies have, I've had sayings on social media. There are memes, they are what? Tewemalamu lwaki? Lwa tewemalanga mwagalemu katono. Now you will know that such a person giving such a comment has a hidden wound. It is true. The Bible says, trust many, have many friends, trust few. But even the few you have, you cannot trust them. The problem is that you're trying to construct walls so that you avoid yourself from facing the other problems that you're harboring with inside you. Depression, a settled hopelessness. Apply here, you will get a job. From here, you will never get a job. I know that. In this Uganda, I will not waste my time. Yeah, visit some churches. Maybe you can get a girlfriend, a wife. There's the church girls here, you're seeing. I cannot find any sensible girl amongst the Adventists. Not even a sensible husband. The level of hopelessness is at high because of the unhealed wounds. Remember, not because this person wants, but because this person has a challenge which needs to be addressed, and she doesn't know. Even in relationships, those who have been able to be successful and gotten partners, they are struggling. The husband says, we build a flat, a storage building. When my father started on his storage building, it stopped on the way. I do not want us to start things that I don't want. My friend, let us do our one and 2 rooms. It will be enough for us. Hopelessness in daily life, it even deprives people of joy. The last one is spiritual dryness, cold devotion, prayer, worship feels distant and empty. Have you ever been in that situation where you feel you are just pulling ropes with yourself to get in connection with your God? It happens. And when it happens to you, don't say, God cannot revamp me. He can restore you. And sometimes in counseling we say it is okay to feel that way. Not because that we want you to make sure you stay there. No. But it is always good for you to acknowledge your feelings and your negative thoughts. Don't run away from them. Adventists have tendencies of running away from their negative thoughts. See? They run away from them, and when they come back, they put them on. We mask a lot. And masking doesn't please God. He doesn't. He likes a man who is like David. God, this girl has betrayed me. I found her with another boyfriend. I feel like I want to beat her. I feel like leaving this church. God, help me. Give me strength. I do not have the energy even to read my Bible. Do you remember what David did? That is what he did. Kakati. The mask we wear is the reason as to why some wounds don't heal. Is the reason as to why some wounds don't what? These are the masks we wear. Remember when I talked about working so hard? We work so hard to be successful. We are always busy wanting to achieve A, B, C, D, and D. And this leaves no time to feel. It leaves us with no time to feel the pain. Please, members in Bethel SDA Church, I kindly request you to start encouraging yourself to acknowledge and feel your pain. Ministry, every Sabbath, very early in the morning, whether he or she has helped the family members or not, she must be at church at 6 a.m. Everyone praises him or her for being so early at church. But the friend is battling. If she sat you down to narrate to you a story of how she's emotionally betrayed, you will ask God to support her. She happens to serve others so hard that we never have to sit with. We happen to support others so hard and we forget to sit with ourselves to nurture our own wounds. Relationships. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. But to some people who have unhealed wounds, they will move from relationship to hoping to get help from this, from A, there is no help. B, maybe it will be better with C. It dies off. Maybe it will be better with E. D, C, A, B, C, D, E, F, I, J. Things are not working. In case you're there and you're struggling with relationships, and when you reflect back, you could be having a wound that has not yet healed. Running from relationship A to B is not going to solve that problem. It will never solve it. Actually, the problem will become worse and worse. Okay? That is what we do to mask the wounds. Material possessions. Have you ever known that some people acquire a lot of academic success because of unhidden wounds? Let me study Mbalageko. Kansome. He frustrates the shop there, the gatekeeper. He frustrates the admin, the receptionist. This person frustrates the manager. He or she frustrates the coordinator. Everyone gets frustrated because she went back to school. You see? Yes, it is not bad to go back to school. Actually, I love going, I love being in school so much because I want to acquire a lot of knowledge, but not because I want to mask my unhealed wounds. Okay? So, what does that do? Accumulating things to numb what money can't touch. Now, the bad news is that even when you accumulate resources, you have shop number BCD, that will not heal your pain. After counting this money and depositing it to the bank for it to be kept, you will go back in your room and the mind will retrieve. Hello? But what I'm saying is that if you're doing that to mask your pain, I am genuinely telling you that will not work for you. You will do that for 100 years or 20 years and you still have your wound with you. Okay? Substance use. Remember, I've already talked about that. Not so. Some people, in order to soothe their pain, they have been convinced by their mind, their thoughts, or by friends through influence to take some alcohol, to take some substances in order for them to relieve that pain. However, taking substances only escalates the problem because it distorts the normal way the body receives happiness. This becomes conditioned, and the effect it has, I cannot tell it today. Does really Christ understand us when we are wounded or heartbroken? Does he? Does he? He does. Indeed, he does. Because he was despised and rejected. By who? Some of us even may have rejected him yesterday night as we were doing something that we wanted for our own selves. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, he was pierced, but pierced for our own transgressions. And the good news is here, my brother, my sister, that with his wounds, our wounds were healed. With his wounds, our wounds were what? Jesus is not so distant. God sympathizes from a safe height. He experienced every wound named tonight. Talk about rejection. Talk about betrayal. Talk about what? Abandonment. Right? By his own friends. Judas Iscariot, betrayed him. He was abandoned by the people he slept with. He was preparing with. They slept off when he had gone to pray, while he was organizing for their safety. He was falsely accused. And we cannot talk about the pain he went through at the cross. So, what heals us of our wounds is the cross. Now what? I want you to imagine a woman nursing a broken arm that was never set properly. Months later, the bone has healed but crooked. Okay? She still has full motion. She can walk. She can move her body well. Still get through her body. That day. But there is a persistent ache. A persistent what? Sometimes she feels some pain, and it is persistent whenever the weather changes and the arm never sits quite right at home. She went through the what? The support of the medical worker, did she? But the arm was not put right. And so whenever she's seated somewhere or doing her thing, she feels the ache. Okay? That is what happens to us when we harbor hidden. You may be able to earn a smile, but this smile has something that it is covering upon. A life that still functions but is permanently misaligned until someone breaks it open again to reset it. Healing is not absence of the memory, no. It is the presence of Christ in the memory, resetting what was never set. So the ache no longer governs how you live. Now, how we live is governed by and the brain is governed by the thoughts and feelings. And the feelings govern, the two govern how we behave. When you are wounded, your thoughts will be affected, your feelings will be affected, and automatically your behaviors will be affected. What in your life still functions, but has never truly been set right but by God? What is that you feel that it is somehow okay, but it has never been reset by God? You've not yet allowed him to enter into your mind. You've not yet given him an opportunity to reset it. What is it? Do you have it? As you're reflecting, I want us to acknowledge that God can help us to heal. He can help us to do what? And roughly, we're going to go through the healing process. I have been talking about wounds. And everyone, I believe that apparently he knows his or her wound. Let us always learn to acknowledge our wounds. Okay? We acknowledge our what? Denial delays healing. Okay? Bring the wound to Christ. Do not put that wound alone. Bring it to who? To Christ. So, healing process 1 is acknowledging the wound. Number 2 is bring your wound to who? To Christ. Be honest before God. Don't lie to him. Don't lie God, because he's all-knowing. He knows what you're going through. Even when you happen to tell him a small glimpse of what happened in your life, he knows. Forgive those who have hurt you. Because if you do not forgive, then healing will never be given to you. Unforgiveness doesn't push the offender. Rather, it chains you to them. Forgiveness releases them to God's justice and release you from the wound grip. Okay? Let God's word renew your mind. Allow it. Read it. Walk in faith and obedience. What will the results be? It is true that we are having wounds, but when God has worked on our wounds, whatsoever they are, we shall live with the wounds as testimony. We shall be able to give testimony to those who are bleeding. We shall be able to tell stories of victory. But the wounds can also be healed and they act as evidence of God's grace upon us. Wounds can enable us to gain strength. Remember that moment when you were hopeless? And now you can be able to stand before the people and tell them how your God has been good to you. That is what God does. And he will return mourning into joy. He turns brokenness into strength. He turns scars into evidence of grace. He turns pain into testimony. Bring everyone to Jesus, my dear friend. He heals the broken-hearted and he binds up their wounds. Tonight, I request us to say this prayer as we are winding up. Is it okay? Dear Lord, heal every wounded heart in this place. You can replace every wounded heart with your name. Dear Lord, wound my heart. Heal my heart. Reach into what I have hidden. Mulike down. Reach into what I have hidden, named, and brought before you. Restore hope where there has been despair, and fill me with your peace and grace. Turn my pain into testimony, my scars into evidence of your goodness. In Jesus' name, amen. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Pastor, for the wonderful sermon. It was indeed wonderful. Thank you for the good presentation. May God bless you. The prayer was so wonderful. Tell God to heal your heart, to heal you from the hidden wounds. They might be affecting even your family or people around you. Every time they are laughing for you are throwing tantrums. You're always negative. You are always on the negative side. So you pray to God so that you can be healed. I think let us rise up and we pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful because you have brought us here to hear this message. May you heal us because we don't have the power over healing ourselves. Heal our friends, our relatives, our family, our children, our parents, our children, our husbands, our wives. May you give us the strength to fly higher. May you give us the strength to do your ministry. In the name of Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Counselors told me that we might